My name is Mara Iserson, and today I'm going to talk to you about the effects of social media on one's relationship. The question is, how would we even live without social media these days? We're in a world where phones are the first and last things that we see every morning and every night. So there's no wonder that there's issues with social media in our relationships, both online and offline. It was interesting to learn that research states that on average we spend 2 or more hours a day on social media, and some people spend even more than that. Whether it be scrolling while watching TV, scrolling at work, we are on our phones and on social media a lot more than one may think. When we are constantly tied to our phones, checking work emails, news alerts, or simply scrolling through Instagram, it's imperative that we learn to balance with offline time with our loved ones as well. We hold these devices onto us and it almost becomes invisible, that relationship we have with those people around us. It's almost impossible to create or enhance those relationships when social media is the first thing on your mind and also is the first thing you're thinking about each day. So how can we keep our relationships strong in the age of social media where it's truly taking over today? So I'm going to tell you a few things of what you can do to make sure your relationship stays strong. Now, first thing first is to be careful in early relationship stages. We have a tendency to overuse social media all the time, but it's important in the beginning stages of a relationship to make sure you're spending time with one another, learning about the other person, and not just sitting there, when you're in the bedroom or you're at dinner for the first few times, just scrolling through Instagram and looking through that. It's really important to, learn about that person, whether it be their history, what they like and what they don't like, their hopes and their dreams about their family. We can spend hours of conversations via the phone and via social media, but it's really important to have that one-on-one and personal conversation with that person as well. You can learn a lot about somebody, and sometimes it can be a little bit hard because over the phone or via text or social media, things can be misconstrued. But when you're having that conversation one-on-one, you're able to learn a lot more about somebody as well. You're really building that relationship, especially when it's a new relationship. It's really critical to be off your phones and kind of have them out of sight unless there's like an emergency or you're talking about something and something comes up, so you show them something on Facebook, but you shouldn't have that total concentration on your phone always. Another thing is also to think twice before posting anything on social media. I think this is big, and this is something I kind of personally learned throughout, is that you don't want to offend the other person, you don't want to come off too strong, you don't want to come off too annoying or nagging. So I think it's really important to think twice before posting anything on social media. While social media can really have negative effects on relationships across the board, you also need to be mindful for your partner about interacting on social media, whether it be, don't respond or like maybe something from somebody in your past, or, don't post any sensitive topics or that can make some angry conversations or frustration between you and your significant other. It's really important to think about them. You also may want to share a lot of aspects about your life on social media. And when you're dating somebody and when you're going through those early stages, maybe, don't share everything on Facebook or social media. You may not be on the same page, so you don't want to keep your conversations personal between you and the other person. Maybe not put hard eyes and, lovey-doveys and ask to be in a relationship on Facebook after the first week. It's important to, be mindful and think twice before posting anything 100%. Also, it's important to keep your loved ones on your mind always. While there's always a risk in navigating social media and relationships, there's always ways to ensure that your communication stays strong. Don't wish your family or that significant other happy birthday on Facebook. Maybe pick up the phone and make a trip, or send them something in the mail of saying I love you and happy birthday. It's always important to make sure you're keeping them as your one-on-one. As our social media networks continue to grow, we recommend to be mindful about people's beliefs and values. These days, people are so big on posting what they believe and how they feel on Facebook and Instagram. It's important to make sure that maybe you're not posting everything, because you got to think about other people that are tied to you as well and how that can look as well. The impact on social media in relationships can really be positive or negative depending on the person you talk to. Social media has impacted how relationships grow and sustain themselves. On one hand, social media and technology has allowed relationships to be established and sustained from a physical distance. But on the other hand, social media may have ruined dating in a sense that can now occur almost entirely over the internet and decrease the incentive to make a commitment. I think a big day, being in my early 20s, I've kind of learned this the hard way where, dating online has become something really big. When it comes to dating online, the problem is that you really don't know what one is looking for. They could say over, texting or over Bumble or whatever that dating app may be, that they're looking for something serious, but the minute they meet you in person, they run the opposite way. I've heard this from a lot of my friends, and I've personally experienced it, that it could be a little bit hard when dating online. than, going and meeting somebody in person one-on-one. So it really could go both ways. And on the other hand, social media and technology has allowed us and relationships to do those long distances, whether it be with somebody in the army or somebody that lives, across the country. I think that's also big because you have that ability to FaceTime now and, being able to text and do all these other things via your phone now. So I can see how it goes both ways. So I've shared with you a few things of what you can do to make sure you keep that relationship positive and going in the right way. And also I have shared that there is negative and positive effects to social media in our relationships. I think we're going to see a lot more about this and a lot more research on this in the future as these relationships and social media are kind of being more correlated. I have had friends have really positive relationships that they've met with people online. I think it's really, based on the person. So I think it's really important to have that conversation with your loved one about, hey, maybe we shouldn't always be on our phones or, and spend more time together. If it is long distance, I can see why you may be on your phone more often. But I think it's really important these days, especially at my age, to you kind of learn that boundary because you almost can become glued to your phone. Nowadays, Apple or iPhones in general will tell you how much you're on your phone per week. And the amount of times I'm on my phone per week, I'm like, wow, I really could be going outside and spending more time working out or spending more time with my boyfriend or with my dog than being on my cell phone and being kind of stuck in this world on Instagram or Facebook. So I think it's really important to, express with your loved one kind of like where you stand on the whole thing and maybe talk about the few positives and what you can do to make your relationship better that I talked about earlier in the video. But, I'm looking forward to see what more research can come out of this in the future. Thank you, and thank you for listening.